Hey listeners, Adam O'Donnell. Today I interview Rachel, the CEO of Sweep. They've raised nearly $100 million. With all these interviews, I always want to find out, how did you grow so fast?
What we've been completely amazed and surprised, in the super early days of Sweep is the kind of logos we were able to sign right away.
So they got the logos, but how did they do it?
When we were testing the market, you just need to pick up your phone, speak to as much people as possible.
As founders, we've all done customer research, but listen to what she's listening for.
His capacity to capture the low signals. And you must trust yourself as an entrepreneur. The analysis, the way you will be able to capture low signals. But for that, you still have to pick up the phone.
Hey, welcome to Sit Down Startup Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Adam O'Donnell, former founder and VC. I now work at Zendesk for Startups, where we offer 6 months free use of Zendesk for qualified high growth companies. Welcome to Sit Down Startup, Rachel. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Could you first just tell us when you founded Sweep?
Yeah, we founded Sweep, myself and my 3 other co-founders, by June 2020. So we were in the middle of the lockdown, first lockdown. And this is also why the company is a remote first company. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Well, tell us, were you doing the same thing that you are now back in June of 2020?
Not at all. Yes, almost, of course, but we are still a SaaS company. We are still a climate tech. We are still, of course, delivering and, trying to help businesses to track and act on their carbon so they can really become forever companies. But yeah, of course, things have evolved. The market has evolved fast, the needs, the regulations. So of course, you need to embrace that world. You need to embrace the urgency of climate change as well, and adapt your product to just have this sense of urgency in your product, in your business as well, definitely.
But the core business is still similar. Like, I ask this sometimes just to know how big of a pivot has had to been made to get to where you are now.
Yeah, we didn't really pivot. Actually, it's since the beginning we have understood that we could use we could leverage our data skills, our data knowledge, because we come from a world of cloud business intelligence, and we knew that we could help with data, with our skills in setting up a very powerful distributed cloud infrastructure, and because carbon is mostly a problem of data, a data problem and a network problem, it made sense completely for us to leverage that skills to address companies' needs, because it's a data and network problem, the famous Scope 3 matter. But what I mean is that, of course, the way you think how you will address the market and the kind of positioning you want to have in this space, all this has changed, but not the core willingness, not the core motivation. Yeah, of course.
That's great to hear. That's really cool. Tell us how big is Sweep now? Like, how many employees, how much money have you raised?
Yeah. So we are exactly, when I'm speaking to you right now, we are between 80 to 90 people. I'm saying between because we have people joining us in the coming days. But we are that size of a team, and we are mostly based between London, Paris, but also a little bit of everywhere in Europe. And we also started to have our first employees in the US. So hello.
I love it. Hello. Well, welcome. And how much money have you raised so far?
We have raised $100 million, and the amount is impressive, and we are really proud of it. But the time frame also is pretty impressive, and we've raised that amount of money in less than 12 months. Okay, and in 3 rounds: seed, Series A, Series B, and what's really cool is that we have fantastic financial partners, definitely, which is so important, and we have to be super optimistic that money can be directed into carbon matters, into climate change, into technologies we want to change, want to solve that climate change problem. So yeah, super optimistic to see. It's my responsibility as a CEO, as a co-founder, to capture that money for this company on a mission, definitely.
That's amazing. I can't imagine that there's more than 50 companies in the history of the world who've ever raised $100 million. And like 12 months from founding. So I'm really excited to talk with you. I think it's going to help a lot of founders. Help us with some of the early growth strategies that you had in the early days, which for you was only about 2 years ago. Maybe there's one of the most impactful things that we could talk about right now.
Yeah. What we were, because we started the first company called Bime Analytics and acquired by Zendesk, by the way. So of course we had this example, of but still it was more than 10 years ago, and what we've been completely amazed and surprised, in the super early days of Sweep is the kind of logos we were able to sign right away, almost in day one. We understood that we were on a particular market. At first we thought that we would have to train our model, our product, with some friendly companies, that who would like to test our product and be nice with us, and this is what every business is doing, in the early days. You try to test your product with friends, and actually, it was crazy to see that the need was there, that very large companies needed that kind of product right away because of regulations, because there were no particular technologies already available on the market with that data approach, and the fact that we were coming on the market with that track record of, having built first company, acquired, etc. But most importantly, coming with this data background, at scale, big data, analytics, deep dive, it's I think it was our aha moment where I said, okay, so we can definitely right away start to approach the big emitters, because we wanted to approach the big agent of change. Okay, the big emitters, they are the big agent of change. But when you are starting a company, you say, okay, maybe let's try with some small companies. It's difficult to enter right away in the enterprisey, market. It's super difficult because you right away need to have to structure your company with all the support jobs that an enterprise customer needs from you. So this is also but the fact that we were even with a small team, even in the early days, able to close these logos, it's also why we had a story to tell to our investors. We can prove that. Look at the logos we've been able to close, that we've been able to deliver on, and this is also why we got their trust. At this size of this big trust with 100 dollars.
This is amazing. And I'm trying to think of those founders who are hustling, trying to get those big logos in the early days, and it's maybe not working the same way that it did with you. Obviously, enterprises were impressed with your track record as a founder because you had already had an exit, but it sounds like there was a lot more going on. So maybe you could tell us how you identified the pain. The pain that they had was so real, they're willing to trust an unknown startup essentially in the early days.
Yeah. For this, I made what I have done also when I was launching my first business. When we were testing the market, actually, you just need to pick up your phone and to speak to as much people as possible. You have to leverage your closed network also. And in our case, of course, the fact that we had already built a first company, it meant that we had access to CEOs of large corporations from our first entrepreneurial story, so we could pick up the phone and call them directly. Okay, hey, you remember me? You were consuming my first cloud BI product. So what can you tell me about your need today when it comes to carbon, when it comes to your climate journey? Or are you monitoring your carbon data? What about your climate journey in general? And do you have a tech strategy? I guess that you have a climate strategy because I've seen that you have committed in the newspaper, but hey, what about your tech strategy when it comes to monitoring all this, And this is and I was speaking, picking up the phone, writing on LinkedIn, and this is, I think that as an entrepreneur, you are super receptive to low signals. Okay, low signals. I think that if there is some what make a talented entrepreneur, I think it's his capacity to capture the low signals. And the more you must trust yourself as an entrepreneur about the analysis, the way you will be able to capture low signals. But for that, you still have to pick up the phone. You still have to call and to talk about your idea and to understand if there is a need, etc., etc. And we've done that the four co-founders. And yes, at the end of the day, we say, okay, that's crazy what they are talking about. We thought that we would completely reinvent a company and do something new compared to our first business, but actually they are asking us to do business intelligence for carbon. So I'm not marketing it that way right now. I can't because it would be too complicated. But this is, the fact that we are bringing our data capabilities, our data skills, our carbon understanding, because we've married ourselves with carbon experts in Europe, and actually, we are now answering their needs. And their needs is, they told me, Rachel, I just don't know where to start. I just don't know what I am emitting and how I should calculate that. And I am just freaking out about the regulation and the fact that I am completely screwed if I'm not able to report on this format. But it's a jungle. We just don't know. And this is when I really think that we were talking about connecting the dots, addressing a carbon dialogue to make sure that collective climate action could happen. And when you are saying that, you are connecting companies, you are connecting a big company with its value chain, and you are enabling everyone to assess their carbon emissions and then reduce altogether. And technology is helping. Data technologies, are helping. And this is what we are doing. But you have to pick up the phone to understand the needs. You can't start a business just saying, oh, I want to start my business. I want to tell my friends that I am a startupper. You need to understand a need on the market. You need to, even if it's a low signal, but you must be sure that you are addressing a need.
Yeah, you obviously nailed it. Help us with an example of a low signal that you are hearing. And maybe you could compare that to your previous business or maybe other calls when you were doing this research that were not low signals, but kind of felt like red herrings. Because from my experience as an entrepreneur interviews, people always want to affirm whatever you're researching because they want to help you out. They don't want to be the one to say, hey, what you're working on is not a good thing. It's not a real pain. So you have to be able to discern between the authentic, like, wow, this is something, and oh yeah, that's a cool thing. So I'm curious your perspective on that.
All the when you are conducting your interviews, and at some point when you are understanding, this is also why you need to conduct lots of interviews, because you have to understand, the common, if you are hearing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lots of many times in a row, this is when you start to think, okay, there is something here, or there is something or maybe you can understand that you will have to work for an industry, or it's the more you are speaking with people of different size of companies, different persona within the company. At first you have to start. You have to tap. Everywhere, and at some point you are smart enough to refine. Your interviews and at the end of the day, of course there will be lots of people who will want to direct you in one direction, in a particular direction, to really answer their particular needs. Okay, but you first you also have to trust the ones who are really about to pay. Okay, because there is plenty of people who think that, oh, you should do this and you should do that, and but how do you pay me? How do you pay for that? Well. So it's you have to trust yourself as an entrepreneur about your capacity to synthesize, the low signals and the what you want to also deliver, for this in this world, what the mission you want to pursue, and the money who comes from it, because for example, we are a B Corp ourselves, but this is what I'm always every day telling to my teammates. It's not because we are a B Corp that we must be a cash machine. Because we are an economical live organism, and even if we are a B Corp, even if we are fighting climate change, we must be profitable. We must run our business in an effective economical way, because we will die otherwise, and it's the and we are in a we must, I believe that we are at the edge of a new world, but still, we have our roots in the former world, and we must comply with it. We must embrace the fact that this is how the world is working, and if you want to sell your software to help big emitters to become agent of change, at the end of the day, there is still the procurement department, and you still have to go through like any other SaaS software. You need to go through the same RFP and processes. So for this, you need to have in your company professionals that you are paying, at high with high salaries, who know how to sell to enterprise. And this is the reality of our businesses today. But I would be incredibly glad to broadcast that message that you can do great for climate and be super profitable, be a great economic example.
Trust the customers with the money, which tells me to ignore the ones who are just using talk and aren't actually following up with that, because we are a cash machine. We are an economic, profitable company. The low signal piece was amazing as well, just like listening for that low signals. And the only way to do that is to be on the phone with the customer. So your day to day as an entrepreneur is to be on the ground, of course, and trust your team that you are growing. But customer. Rachel, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and Google. If you want to learn more about Zendesk for Startups and our free offer, please check out our website at zendesk.com/startups.